say you ask them during the month of January in 2020, what do you think about President Uhuru Kenyatta? And then they tell you 60% of these people think Uhuru Kenyatta is a good president. 4 months down the line, you might be interested in understanding, do those people still hold the same opinions regarding President Uhuru Kenyatta? So you do another survey using the same population, and then you are able to determine what you're calling change, the extent of the change and the direction in which these people are thinking. So if in January these people had said that 60% their opinion was that President Uhuru Kenyatta is leading the country in the right direction, 4 months down the line, the same people might have a different opinion dependent on a lot of variables, or during that research wave many things could happen. For instance, the economy could dip, or things could turn out for better, and so on and so forth, and that can inform a different opinion or attitude. But it's not always the case that you get the same population. So the same people that you interviewed during the January survey might not necessarily be the same people that you get during the April survey. So you can have a change of population, and that is what is being called trend survey. And trend survey is being described as several cross-sectional surveys because you are involving different people. And one of the disadvantages or one of the weaknesses of panel survey is that if you are interested in understanding opinions of the same people over time, you might find that these people are not necessarily available for a second survey. So probably during the April survey you cannot get them, and that is what we are calling panel mortality, meaning that the panel or the people that you surveyed have a kind of a mortality that you cannot find them any longer for you to do a survey with them. And researchers have found out that there are about 4 reasons that contribute to panel mortality. And one of the main reasons, which is actually one of the biggest weaknesses of surveys, is that during a second time of surveys, the same people you interviewed might decline to respond. And this is what we call low response rates, that for one reason or another, the same people that you had sought their views can decide that they are not going to participate in that survey research again. Another reason is that people move from one place to another. So if you are carrying out your survey in a place like Nairobi, the same people can geographically locate to a different place. So you might not be able to find them at the point where you got them during the initial wave of the survey research. And if you are doing research that is survey based on telephone numbers, people can also change their telephone numbers. So at one time you called me using a particular number. If you want to reach me again, you might find that what Kenyans say, mteja wa nambari hapatikani. So a person can change their number, and as a result of that, it can bias your study because the sample is no longer representative as you had conceptualized during the first wave of the research. And other reasons include vacation. For instance, there are personal reasons that people can either be on vacation or take a study leave, or many other personal reasons that can make a person not be at the same place that they were at the time of carrying out the first wave of the research. So those are some of the causes of panel mortality, where the people that you had carried out the research with are no longer available for you. So why are surveys said to be some of the most popular research methods that communication researchers and actually researchers in general use? It is because of a couple of reasons that I was able to find out, and some of these include the fact that when you are doing a survey, you are able to investigate research problems in realistic settings. So you go to where the people are. And this is contrasted to what you call controlled environments, where you're talking about a controlled environment like a laboratory, where researchers do different kind of tests on specimen. So that's a positive thing about surveys, that you are able to do your research within a realistic setting. Then surveys also are not expensive, or we can say that their cost of doing surveys is reasonable. And this is when compared to the data that you gather from a survey, the cost becomes very reasonable. And that is related to the second one, that you are able to generate huge amounts of data coming from the survey. And lastly, probably not lastly, but the last two have got to do with issues to do with cost again, that the researcher is not constrained by geographical boundaries, like someone who is doing their research in a laboratory, for instance. And sometimes the data already exists. So you might be doing a survey around an issue and the data is already out there. For instance, how people view TV, the data is already in existence. Or what CAF have already done, that is the Kenya Audience Research Foundation, that the surveys are already in existence and they can inform you. But surveys also have their downside, and one of them is what you call causality. And causality has got to do with, it's causality, And causality, it means that in a survey, you are not able to independently, the researcher is not able to vary what you call the independent variable. If you look at how experiments are done, for instance, the independent variable can be systematically varied. But in a survey, because we have already said that it is done in realistic settings, you are not able to vary that variable, and that makes it difficult for a researcher to test what you call causality. And causality is a relationship that exists between one variable and another. So you're not able to measure that with certain precisions. Sometimes how you construct the questionnaire, how you word the questions can be a downside, because people can misunderstand the question and therefore they can give you different kind of responses, as we shall see briefly about that. And also your survey questionnaire can be answered by the wrong people. And the wrong people here means that the people that you're not interested in getting their views or their responses can answer the questionnaire, and therefore they can bias the entire study. And also we've found out about the issue about declining response rates, that people can decline to give their views to the questions that you ask. So let's now probably look at the last section of this presentation. And here we will be talking about how do we develop a survey research. That is the tool that you use to collect data, which is called a questionnaire. And under this, we can look at 5 stages or 5 steps. And this, so you select that, and then you determine the sample, and some of the ways that the sample must be representative. We have seen that because surveys are interested in generalizing the results to the entire population. So the sample must be representative in how you select it. And the last 2 would be, how do you analyze and interpret data, and how do you publish, or how do you publicize the findings of your study. So the questionnaire has got a number of parts, and the most introductory part of it is, well, the first part of it is the introductory part, and under the introduction there are a couple of key issues that you need to capture. And one of the issues that you need to capture here is you need to introduce who you are and what is your affiliation in terms of, let's say, institution, why are you carrying out this research, who are you, and how are you connected to, let's say, for instance, MKU, are you a student there, are you a faculty, and so on and so forth. Then you need to explain the purpose of the study to the people who are responding, and then tell them how long the survey will take, and this should not take more than 60 minutes, sorry. And two important things is that you need to give them instructions on how they are going to answer the questions to your study. Are they going to circle their right responses, or are they going to tick so that you know the views of that person? Before you go to the field to carry out your survey, there is a very important component that is called pre-testing. And pre-testing is a must when you are doing a survey, because it helps you clarify whether the questions have been correctly ordered, whether the questions communicate, or there are some other issues around layout of the questionnaire, or just technical details that you may have missed. So a pre-testing is a must for a researcher to carry out before they go into the field. And a proposed method that is ideal for pre-testing a survey could be a focus group, where you bring 10 to 20 people together and ask them to read the questionnaire, and then they can try to answer the questions and see whether there are some issues that they can probably answer or clarify or rectify. Then you can decide to do a mail questionnaire, a telephone questionnaire, or you can administer personally the questionnaire, or you can give it to a group, for instance, a class. You can bring the papers to a class and everybody just answers the questions. Or you can do what you call monkey surveys that are usually done on the internet, where people are asked to tick different responses. Then once you settle on that, the other issue is how then do you construct the questions that the respondents would be interested in answering. And the most important thing here is that you should communicate with clarity and you should avoid ambiguity. So the questions should be asked in a very clear and unambiguous manner that the respondents need to be able to understand, using everyday language, what you are trying to seek. Basically, that is the most important thing to take out of that. There are different types of questions that you can ask, and one of them is what you call open-ended questions. And under open-ended questions, the respondent has got freedom of answering. So, for instance, you could ask them, what type of TV program do you prefer to watch? They have the freedom to tell you that. But the most common kind of questions that are asked are what you call the closed-ended questions. And closed-ended questions provide a list of answers from which the respondent can answer, and then they are able to tick or circle one of the responses. And the last thing that I want to say under the questioning is what you call double-barreled questions that should be avoided. And under double-barreled questions, when you are doing a survey, is when you are asking the respondents for two issues within the same question that would probably bring ambiguity or conflict. For instance, when you ask someone, how satisfied are you with your pay and job conditions? That particular person could be satisfied with their pay, but they're not really satisfied with their job conditions. So their answer could be, I agree, but you don't know whether they have agreed to the fact that they are satisfied with their pay or they are satisfied with their job conditions. And probably the last of these questions I can give is, does your department have a special recruitment policy for men and women? That's a double-barreled question, because this particular department could have special recruitment policy that favors men, but the same policy does not favor women. And then there are, different kind of questions that you can ask. And this is where I wish to stop today's lesson on the idea about surveys, where we have been able to see a few issues, including what are surveys, what are the strengths and weaknesses of surveys, different designs of surveys, and what are the technical details that you consider when you are doing a questionnaire. So until next time, keep safe. Thank you.
We are in a digital era, and Mount Kenya University knows this. The following are the steps to follow so as to complete your online application. Download the application form from the website www.mku.ac.ke. Attach copies of your academic certificates and ID. Pay the application fees via M-Pesa pay bill number 270988. Your ID is the account number. 2,000 shillings is the charge for a postgraduate.